Authenticity is the highest measurable frequency on the emotional vibrational scale. Authenticity is actually higher than love, which was once believed to be the highest measurable frequency on the emotional vibrational scale.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes back to what we're saying about emotional congestion, right? You can do all of these things for your vibe, for your frequency, so that it can be higher and more potent. However, if you are emotionally congested, AKA not feeling your feelings, the frequency that you're experiencing isn't an authentic frequency.
Hey, I'm Brooke Jean, therapist, recovering perfectionist, and struggling working mom on a mission to normalize normal. If you're an overwhelmed, high-achieving, and secretly anxious mama, struggling to balance it all and on the brink of burnout, you are in the right place. Here is where we talk about hard things like balancing work and family life, mental health, and how to navigate life-altering transitions. Nothing is too taboo here. In my conversations, I'll teach you how to let go of who you think you're supposed to be in order to create the life you've always wanted. Get ready to embrace your messy, shed the shoulds, and find freedom through a life unperfected. This is the Unperfected Pod. Welcome back to the Unperfected Pod, where we normalize normal and find freedom in a life unperfected. Mamas, I have a treat for you today. This is a being that I came into contact with in a Kathy Heller container. And she came in and she poured into us. And so then I started low-key obsessively devouring her energy via her social media, via her podcast, via her containers. And she is just a powerful, brilliant force of nature that is here to pour into you. Tracy Litt, welcome to the Unperfected Pod.
Hi, I'm so excited to hang out.
I'm so glad you're here. And for the listener, Tracy just shared with me, this is right out of the gate, something for you to write down in your notepad, that rubbing your breasts is a way to regulate your nervous system. Because I was talking about how my gauge for success is hard nips right now. And she was like, yes, girl, I'm with you. So we were doing this. If you want to watch on YouTube, getting ready.
You rub your breasts. Your partners will be very excited. They'll be like, oh, hang out with them even more. If I can rub your breasts extra. That's what my husband said. He's like, can I be he said to me, does it regulate you as much if I'm the rubber? I was like, sure, whatever. Yes, it really is. It's an amazing thing. And what you're saying about hard nips, we have a client. She's amazing. Her name is Stacy. She's like, so she calls it nippleless erectus. That's like her phrase for it. Because she went, like most of us, she went from overwhelmed, super pressurized, perfectionist to this calm, ease, flowing being that she is now. And that is her gauge too. She's like, as soon as those nipples go up, I'm like, okay, it's on. So you are on.
Oh, yes. And that's such a good segue into what you do, because one of the things that you've personally helped me with, Tracy, is the ease, becoming an easeful woman. So I still listen to your hypnotic experience from the Easy Like Sunday morning as a tune-up on a regular basis, because it has shifted something in my subconscious and in my energy and in my body around allowing more ease. And so will you just tell the beautiful people what the heck you're doing out here in the world, what you're here to share and serve in your words?
Yes. I'm so glad that recording is serving you so well. I, every single day, get to be the vessel to help women evolve their identities so that they can create holistic success. And the word holistic is important because success, the way that we were trained to perceive it, is what is killing us, and no longer slowly. So when we come into the school of becoming and you can tap into evolving your identity, you become a woman who prioritizes ease and pleasure and feels safe to celebrate all the success that she used to work so hard for, and allows herself to open to the goddess that she is and say yes to extra help and yes to support, because she no longer needs to be the woman spinning all the plates and being over in the dark side of resilience. So essentially, I get to wake up every day and show women what's possible, remind them who they are, and teach them which levers to pull in this journey of being spiritual, energetic beings, having a human experience, so that they can generate completely different realities because we are the common denominator of our lived experience. We are the driver. We are the cause of the effect. We are the generator. And when you recognize that everything you've been doing has been an abdication of power, and you pull your power back in, and then you learn the things that no one ever taught us, which is why, Brooke, I built a school, because I was like, hello, everything in academia is anything but what we need to actually understand the creators that we are. And when you get taught these things and shown how, because the how is essential to apply them, you have a completely different experience of your life, and you start to generate completely different results.
Yes. And I love your approach because it's so thoughtful and holistic, and it builds these gorgeous building blocks to the becoming, and nothing is like missed and overskipped. But okay, so let's start with the conditioning, like how we got into this mess in the first place. That where you really did you say we're on the dark side of resilience? Is that what you said? Because
I
it was
did. I'll touch on that because there's so much to share. I know I can already tell we need 3 days in a live event, and we'll do it. Okay.
yeah.
So the first thing is that something that I know as an emotional healer and as someone who teaches women how to feel, because one of the things, beautiful listener, is that somewhere along the line, you disassociated from yourself, you disconnected from your body, yet you weren't aware of it. So part of that is the amount of suppression and repression that you are sitting on emotionally is unhealthy and unfair, right? And it really is in your divine responsibility to start to tap into that. So I'm going to pause us, Brooke, because my brain just took me in two different places, which happens sometimes. Where were we just going?
We were talking about how we got into this mess of the
Thank you.
dark side of resilience in the first
Yeah,
place,
beautiful.
conditioning.
There it is. There it is. Okay.
And thank
So
you for normalizing our brains doing that.
yes, especially when we are vessels and we are flowing. Like I don't have notes. I'm not reading. This is in me. Sometimes my brain gets really excited and it wants to remember all the different things that it's trying to say. And I mean, listen, in the spirit of your stunning movement, which is the unperfected, that's it. It's like being able to say, oh, wait a minute, where were we? Because also, you guys, when you become the evolved version of yourself, you are void of self-judgment and you don't care what people think. You just stay true and honest with where you are in your own groove. And that was a real-time example of that, totally unintentionally. So
Ooh, goosebumps already. Okay, keep going. Keep going.
oh, I know. Well, okay.
I love
So I know we just want to shimmy and dance and stick our tongues out. It's cool. So why do I say the dark side of resilience?
it. Mm,
Because of everything that I just mentioned about how we disassociated and how we disconnected from our bodies. Part of that is this model of like strength and be strong, and this messaging that women have received over time about how we should be strong. And that kind of lend itself into juggling all the plates and not letting yourself feel because feelings are weak or vulnerability is weak or you're not supposed to be fallible because how dare you be an actual human being. So the last thing in the world that women need is help being stronger. The last thing in the world we need is another conversation on resilience, when in actual fact, the resilience is part of the problem. Because the message you've got on resilience is just take it, just do it. You've got this. You've got this. Come on, you've got this. Come on, be strong. That is the direct opposite of what the new world needs and what the conscious women who are building it need to understand. We need more softness. We need more goddess-like energy. We need more ease. We need more support. We need more asking for help. We need more, no, I don't got this. I don't even close to got this. And I need to fall apart on the floor right now. Excuse me while I snot bubble cry.
yes, I am. I know we're all like leaning into this, Tracy, because there's a part of us that knows that this is truth. And there's a part of us that might be in resistance to what you're saying because of our conditioning.
So much. Of course. So how do we become who we are? So let's do the quickie. from around third trimester in your mother's womb till around 7 or 8 years old, you are all subconscious mind. You're a video camera that's turned on 24/7, 365. You have no ability to discern. You have no conscious mind yet. So anything and everything that happens, you internalize it like that video camera and you take it in. And when we are all subconscious mind, we can only arrive at, we are biologically egoic. So we can only assign meaning that is about us when we are all subconscious. So we all get raised and somewhere along the line have an iteration of not enoughness, whether it's, I don't matter, I'm not significant, I'm not smart enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable. And that kind of baseline, I call it the unworthy identity. Number one, lean in beauty. You didn't have a shot to not. Like no one moves through life ever inherently feeling worthy, because the biological egocentricity of how we are and the fact that we are all subconscious mind and our brains don't fully develop for a while, we all have this. So can we also stop this I'm not worthy thing? It's no shit. We all start with an unworthy identity. That's the play.
Wow.
The die is cast. Let's be here, Brooker. It's like,
Wow.
what?
Wow.
No one has a chance.
Wow.
I had I would
Wow.
call phenomenal childhood. I didn't have big T trauma in my childhood, right? I didn't have anything. You go, you had a good life. And I struggle with a depth of unworthiness that drove me to tolerate way beneath myself romantically in sociopathic relationships, to not go to college because I believed that I wasn't smart enough. And I had no big T external thrustings of events, right?
Wow. Yeah.
It's really important. So we
Right.
all have this conditioning of unworthiness, which is the lie, which,
Wow.
right? So tell me, what are you perceiving right now as we're talking about this?
I just feel a level of shame energetically lifting myself and us collectively as we normalize the unworthy narrative that we all live with. Because I think we get in this, we call it in therapy the struggle switch. It's you have anxiety and then you have anxiety about the anxiety. You
Mm,
have the self worth problem and then you have a judgment about the self worth problem. And what you're doing is you're allowing us to peel that layer, which PS creates shame and keeps us
mhm,
perpetuating these
mm,
narratives and the behaviors that back it. You're saying, guys, none of us are getting out of this shit unscathed. We're all fucked. And from that place, what we were spending energetically on the judgment and the shame, we can now channel into the feeling and the healing and the becoming. And
yeah,
that feels really significant to me.
exactly. It is really significant. And I can't wait to teach you about shame, because shame is perception based, which is
Okay, say
also
more
another.
about this.
So, so shame is perception based. We're going to talk about conduit at the end. It's something that we get to do together. It's a beautiful free thing. And I break this down in emotional agility. But even what we've been taught about shame isn't completely accurate, because in the definition of shame is perception and perceived are the two main words used to describe it. And your identity is the cornerstone of your reality. Of course, if you are operating with an unworthy identity, you are going to perceive shame as appropriate. Shame is going to be an emotional place of familiarity for you. And then you're going to round out your identity and behavior and habits to affirm and drive more shame into that emotional addiction. So you're
Mm.
conscious mind of want and desire and vision boarding and seeing what else is possible for you via other people's evidence, but never quite get there for yourself because you're not working on the root cause, which is the evolution of your identity. And when you evolve your identity into your wholeness identity, shame
Mhm.
isn't relevant or appropriate or necessary.
Oh, okay. So let's get right on into how we do that because everybody, including me, is yes, this feels true. This feels true. And it feels so much lighter than the way that we've been doing it.
Yeah, it does. And it is so much later. It's a whole different way of being and living and operating.
Yeah.
And it requires a true, I'm going to use evolution of your identity again, because that's what becoming is. That's what we do in the school. And that means getting back into your body. And that means getting really uncomfortable in starting to becoming a woman who feels her feelings until they're done being felt.
Mm.
It means learning how to not go cognitive when we're talking about emotion, because thought has no business in how you feel. And that's what you were
Mm.
describing before. We start to experience something and then we start to judge what we're feeling. And now you're not doing what the body is naturally built for, which is to feel, right? We're built to feel. The body is meant to feel. It's meant to allow emotions to come in, come through, be felt, be expressed, be released, and move out.
Mm.
Emotion is energy in motion. So when you really allow yourself to go, okay, wait a second. So that's like the point of this game. And when I'm shifting from unworthy identity into wholeness identity, I get profoundly practiced at becoming void of judgment. Because when the emotion comes upon me, let's anxiety. Okay, great. We're also going to talk about adaptations. It's important. But anxiety, cool. When you understand this and we start to practice it, you get to go, oh, that's interesting. Anxiety's upon me. Or like anxiety's here. It's emotion. It's knocking on my door. It's, hey, hi, I'm here. And instead of jumping onto it and starting to do things like, why am I feeling this way? Or I thought I was done with this. Or, oh, clearly everything I've been working on isn't working. Now you are in judgment of the anxiety that's tapping on your window, so to speak, because it's asking to be felt, it's asking to be expressed, it's asking to be witnessed. That's all we need to do with emotions. So that's part of it too. That's why we do a 9-week semester on evolving the identity, because there isn't a podcast answer for this big question, right?
An experience that
Right.
takes time. It's a journey.
It's a journey. It's about shifting your relationship with fear and understanding the biological nature of what that is. It's about understanding that self-doubt isn't what you think it is. It's a complete shift in how you see and how you hear and how you think. And it's driven by this gorgeous, highest self, evolved future version of you. And then your ability to lean into trust and let her lead now. That leading now starts to unbecome all the things that are not the truth about who you are, because becoming is just as much about unbecoming as it is about becoming.
Mm-hmm.
And then you realize, let's just bring in anxiety, let's bring in perfectionism, let's bring in sarcasm, let's bring in procrastination, let's bring in control, let's bring it all in. All of those things are not who you are.
Mm.
You are not born with them. They are adaptations that your system created to keep you safe from whatever you experienced when you were all subconscious mind. I'm going to
Yes.
pause here so you can let me know where you
Yes.
want to go next, but this is a big deal.
Yeah. Because where I'm going is the perfectionists in us learned at an early age it was inappropriate or socially undesirable or unsexy to feel because we're putting
Mhm,
on an image as an adaptation. And
mhm.
so I was going to ask you, why do you think it's so hard for us to feel and what's the cost of that? But I think we already know. And if you're listening to this podcast, it's like, well, we were taught it's not feelings
Mhm.
are too how many of us were like that's too much or that's being dramatic or that's being whatever and we're trying to keep this image and so the image is further perpetuating the repression and suppression of the emotion. And so from your angle, what is that costing us? And then of course we'll get into the what will it unlock for us when we actually unlearn that and start to learn to be with and move with our emotions.
It's costing you everything.
Oof.
Not being a woman who's fully expressed is costing you an amazing sex life. It's costing you actual, not bullshit connection, actual open hearted connection with your children, with your siblings, with your family, with your friends. It's costing you your wealth. It's costing you your legacy. It's
Mm,
costing you time and energy. It's costing you the truth of who you are. It's costing you, think about how exhausting it is
mhm,
to have to think about what to say or how to be and conform and contortionist yourself and think about what happens for you when you care about what other people think, which I know is got you by the vulva, if you will. I used to say by the balls. That doesn't make any sense.
I noticed that on your podcast. I was like, I'm going to start using that because I always say by the balls, and she just went to by the vulva, and I'm adopting that.
Please do. Please do. You know what I mean? So it's literally like one of those things when you realize, oh my
Yeah.
God, it's costing you everything. And I'll drill it down. And it's costing you everything because it's keeping you in a state of survival.
Oh,
At the core, that's what's really happening because when you are emotionally congested, which is our school definition for any unfelt emotion, any suppressed, repressed, depressed, or oppressed emotion, any unhealed wounds, right? When you are emotionally congested, you are inherently constricted. You are tight. And when you're emotionally congested, you are driving yourself, you don't even recognize this until now, into a proving energy, into a proving way of being. When you are emotionally congested, you are subscribing to the outside creates the inside, and you become feeling as good or bad as the last good or bad thing you judge happened to you outside of yourself. When you are emotionally congested, you have no sovereignty, you have no agency. When you're emotionally congested, you cannot achieve an authentic high vibration. When you're emotionally congested, fuck the intuition, you can't even hear it if you tried, because there's so much, like, emotion doesn't just seep out of your feet while you're sleeping. Where does it
yes.
need to go? And yes, sure, we're afraid, but when you understand what fear really is, you understand how much it loves you and you love it back.
Mm,
And I can tell you, Brooke, the two things I hear over and over again, because I am blessed to do this work every day. Every day I'm doing this with beautiful women.
mhm.
I hear two things. If I start crying, I'll never stop.
Yep.
And I cannot afford to open Pandora's box.
Oh
Those are the
my
two
God, if
things.
I had $1 for every time I hear that.
Those are the two things. Those are the two things. And yes to all the things. I just made my case of what it's costing you. And I'm going to show you something even cooler. Your mind is wired for survival, which means your mind is completely disinterested in supporting you and doing anything that is unfamiliar or unknown. And right now, we can agree that you becoming a woman that feels her feelings until they're done being felt is unknown.
Mm,
So, what happens with the mind when it wants to keep you safe is it says, I must keep her the same. And then it says, fabulous. What thoughts can I send up from the body to the mind? Because I know she'll believe them, because she believes everything I feed her. And fear and ego and past experience, which is where your thoughts are derived from in your default mode, starts to populate things like, if you start to cry, you'll never stop. And then you go, "Ugh, totally." And
mm,
you go right back to suppression, right?
mhm.
Yeah, tell her that thing about Pandora's box. She'll believe that. And then you don't move into the unknown and unfamiliar where everything unlocks for you.
That makes so much sense. I know things are clicking for the beautiful people because they're clicking for me right now. It's this is what's happening. This is why we're stuck. So when we get with our feelings and we ride those beautiful waves, what in your experience does that give us access to?
It makes me cry talking to you about it. Joy.
Hmm.
Joy.
Joy.
Here's the thing that people don't get. If you are suppressed emotionally on the emotions you're judging as bad,
Mm,
you are also suppressed on the emotions that you're desiring to feel. You're not feeling real joy. You're not feeling real happiness. You don't know the felt sense of radiance.
mm,
You haven't felt love, heart opening love.
mm,
Because suppression isn't specific to the emotions like rage and anger and disappointment and frustration and unworthiness and all that stuff, but that's what people think. So it's like it discounts you. You're not really feeling.
mm,
That's what the survival state is. It's zombie. It's zombie. It's like
mm,
that. Why?
mhm,
So,
mm.
yeah, all those external things I could say again, because we're a third dimensional consciousness society, although the work we're doing brings you up into higher dimensions of consciousness and teaches you how to be like 5D consciousness here in the third dimension. But none of those external things matter. It's just what you think matters, money and sex and all the things that I talk about. What are we really after here? Feeling good,
Yeah.
feel, feeling good,
Ease, peace,
and joy,
joy,
and
aliveness.
aliveness and freedom and sovereignty.
Mm.
That's what you're working your fucking ass off for anyway. You're trying to achieve a feeling via an external catalyst that you'll never get to because you're emotionally suppressed and congested. And then that makes you spin harder. And then you wonder why you're burnt out.
Mm-hmm. Boom. Boom. That is exactly what I was just thinking and feeling as you're saying. This is why we are burnt out, unfulfilled. If you're me, you're doing all the right things by society's standard just to drink a bottle of wine and eat a plate of brie cheese and cry in your fucking closet about how miserable you are. Just to then the next day be like, look at how awesome my life is. And so, like, it's not that there's something wrong with you, beautiful listener, as Tracy said. It's that we're channeling our what I call the precious jewels, our time, energy, and sanity into the wrong things. We're avoiding feeling and we're out here externally producing. But what if instead of expending so much energy and effort to be a certain way, like whatever the standard is, right? We instead use some of that to be with our emotions, learn to ride our emotions, learn to be with ourselves, learn to sit in stillness, learn to move our bodies, learn to pleasure our bodies. What might happen then? And I always say world domination, bitches. That's what might happen.
I have a sign that says all roads lead to world domination.
Yes. Tracy, this is literally where the movement came from for me, was like when I would imagine all of these beautiful women, moms who are natural leaders, who have such wisdom and sources of power that they don't even know they have. What if we were to come together and use our energy to create and solve complex problems in the world? I
Yeah.
get hard, I used to say goosebumps, hard nips when I think about, instead of having the perfect body, channeling into you, instead of having the perfect Thursday night meal around the dinner table, channeling that into what's possible. It's a ripple beyond what I can describe in language. And that's why I feel like it's not just a good idea to do what you're suggesting. Is that we almost have a call forward, like a duty, like a real rising into
Yeah.
doing this work.
It is our generation specifically. It is our divine moral responsibility to cut the shit and go deeper so that we can go higher, so that we can create the ripple effect. Because let me teach you about the drip process. I write about the drip process in Worthy Human, which is my first book. And I say first book because the second one's being worked on.
Yeah.
The drip process is when your great grandparents dripped into your great grandparents, and then your grandparents dripped into your parents, and your parents dripped into you. Because one of the ways that we become who we are is based on our family of origin, also based on genetics, which is also has emotional connection, but we'll save that for another day. So if your great grandmother was a worrier, then when your grandmother would go to do something, she would go, no, don't do that. Don't stand by the edge. And then when your grandmother had your mother, she would do the same kind of thing, right? And then your mother started doing that to you. Now, here's why we're the chosen ones. We are here with the modalities, the science, the technology, the advancement, and the understanding of healing and human potential in a way that our forefathers didn't have a chance. It was only 40,
That's right.
50 years ago where we recognized that the brain's actually not fixed. I'm sorry, what? So they were operating under the notion that once you hit 25 and your brain was developed, good luck, you are who you are, enjoy, right? Now we know that the brain doesn't stop changing literally until you die and there's no more oxygen being run to it. The brain is constantly, right? Cellularly, you regenerate every 7 years. The brain, by choice and rewiring, can rewire. Your subconscious mind is different. You can change. You're malleable. You're plastic. What?
Wow.
So if we start to drip something different, and I'm going to give a maternal example here because it's gold. Martyrdom was very familiar, right, in our upbringings, right? It's part of like, do everything for everybody else, don't put yourself last on the totem pole, and then be resentful at everybody for not doing what you need them to do, even though you're the one that's driving that exact outcome. and be everything for your kids, because once you have kids, put yourself to the side and now it's time to create a life around them. And now you are a mother. That is your identity, all those things.
Mm.
So I was not available to drip that into I have 3 daughters. Now they're in college. And I chose at 38 to wake up, go back to school. I'm 47 now. Go back to school as an adult learner. That's when I found coaching school. That's when I found human growth and development. Oh my God, this is amazing, blah, 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 blah. And I decide to triple down and build this company and make my massive impact in the world. And as a result, I talked to my husband and he's amazing. We sell the house we're in and we move the girls and we do these things. And needless to say, I put my focus and attention on me. How can I reach my unlimited potential? And what do I start to drip into my daughters if that's what I'm dripping, instead of, I'll make every single dinner for you and I'll make every single soccer game and no problem, I'll run that to school, even though you forgot it 3 times already and I'm totally enabling you at this point, and things of that nature. Don't get me started. And I landed on a new paradigm that I created called expander parenting, right? Because we need to drip something different. So here I am. And when my daughter Taylor, who's now 20, was a baby, I became a single mother with her when she was 8 months old. Okay. Which
Wow.
that is not something any of us aspire to. Thought it was
Right.
the relationship of my life. It was sociopathic and clearly not. And she and I were on food stamps at that age for her.
Wow.
I do what I just told you, and I show up and I'm an amazing mother in my definition of motherhood and what an amazing mother really taps into. Taylor's college essay, we fast forward to her 18 years old. And in her college essay, she writes, I watched my mother ascend from a single mother on food stamps into owning a multi-million-dollar company that serves women. And here's what I know about myself now. I am limitless. I can do whatever I want. I can create whatever I want.
Oh,
That is a whole different drip. She will be a
whoa.
different mother to her children and start dripping something different down the lineage, because I leaned
Mm.
in my responsibility of changing what was being dripped.
Thank you so much for sharing that, because that is like visceral in the room and in my body right now. To hear our daughters say, I am limitless. That's the whole fucking point. That's the whole point.
Oh,
By
yes.
you living your truth, by you taking care of you. And I love that you said drip something different, because I feel like that's something we can all put on a sticky note and like beautifully and lovingly remind ourselves, like, drip something different. Choose me, choose consciousness, choose healing, choose becoming. Like, drip something different. It's not selfish.
No, it's selfish.
It's selfish not to.
It's not to, even when we talk about emotion, right? So let's say you're listening to this gorgeous conversation, and 2 days from now, your child comes home from school and they're crying and they're not in a great mood. I don't want you to say the words, what's wrong?
Okay.
Because the message that you're sending them is, there's something wrong, or there needs to be something wrong with me for me to feel emotional and be expressing myself. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So what do you say instead?
Hey, babe, what do you need right now?
Hey, babe, what do you need right now?
What do you need right now?
What if we learned to ask ourselves what we need in a safe place when we're little? Because when I sit with middle aged women and I say, what do you need? They look at me like a deer in the headlight, like, I don't fucking know. And you're annoying for asking that question because it's so foreign. What if we gave them? Oh my gosh.
Yes, what you're saying, this is everything. No one ever taught you that you deserve to have needs.
Mm.
No one ever raised you to understand sovereignty and agency and choice. So when we say this moment where first we just put it out from the lens of asking your child, now I want you to go, oh my God, she's actually asking me to do this for myself. Because what happens for you when something goes on? You're right in the rabbit hole of what's wrong? Where did this come from? Why am I feeling this way? No, How massive of a shift would it be for you when you're expressing feeling, emotion, there's a mood, whatever the hell it is, you pause and instead you lower your tone with yourself and you say, "What do I need right now?
Mm.
What do I need right now? I need to scream. Cool. I need to cry. Great. I need to call a friend. Okay. I need to take a bath. Okay. I need to ask someone to pick up the kids. Okay." You start to learn support, goddess energy, receivership, because you start to realize how important and significant you are.
Mm. This is so good. And I feel like doing those things are so powerful too because it disrupts our patterning, our biology around the martyrism or whatever the fuck that word is. You know what I'm saying? Like we fall into these ways of being that become habitual and they're baked into our biology. And when you just pause and breathe and then turn your attention inward and say, what do I need? You are already disrupting and unlearning where
Mhm.
then, like you were saying, we're malleable.
We
Now we
are.
can actually choose a new thought, choose a new way of being, choose a new behavior. And if we do that with repetition, now that can be our what if our automatic was instead of when emotion came through and you immediately go into stuff, whether it's conscious or not, what if you just were like, "Oh, I have a big feeling coming through me right now. What do I need?" How much like you would literally move through the world different.
Yes. Yes, because that's what happens for every single student that comes to the school. It's a whole like we said earlier, it's a whole different way of being and living and leading. And from a motherhood standpoint,
Mhm.
that's what you're modeling. So imagine now your child watches you and you're having a day because, hello, welcome to your humanness. And instead of your child seeing you push through or get annoyed or start to judge yourself because they're watching everything and they're sensing everything and you're also co-regulating with them. Side note,
Mhm.
they observe you go, "Oh, wow, mom just said, what do I need right now?
Mhm.
What if?" Then your child starts to go, "Oh, I have needs. Mom has needs. Oh, now dare your child realize you're a whole person without them that has needs."
Mm.
I made another child example. I say a lot, and you might have heard me say, anytime I get the blessing of a thank you or a gratitude for the work that I have done with women, I say, I pause and I say, thank you. I receive that. And I sit for a moment and I receive that. Yesterday, I said something on text to my daughter, and I got back from something I was complimenting her, and she said, "Thank you. I received that." And I literally
No.
forgot I could
Dude,
die now. I
we're
could die now.
done. We're done. Mic drop, beef jerky drop. We're done. We have
That's
made it.
right, and that's to your
Oh,
point, like, we want when we have kids, we want better for them than we had, but
yes.
then we walk around doing the same shit we've always done, and
Yes.
then wonder why they're struggling. Hello? They're
Yeah.
in your environment. Who are
Yes.
you being? What are you putting out energetically inside of the environment that they're being raised in?
Yeah. It's a real that's why I think it comes back to like just conscious choice and leadership too. It is a choice. It's a privilege, it's a pain in the ass, and it's a choice to be the cycle breaker. But man, it's just, we all do. Like, I don't want my daughter wasting her whole life trying to be something she's not, to
Right.
lose her voice in that, to then have to have a nervous meltdown, midlife awakening like the rest of us, and have to learn this stuff in her 40s. It'd be a lot cooler if she could
Yes.
learn it.
It would, and really, I would like to be and I'm working towards living in a world where it's enough for you and I to have this conversation and every woman in the world wake up and go, "Absolutely, I'm investing in me, let's go." And I'm also not stupid. And I know that you're still struggling with the whole "put your mask on first" situation that you've heard 1,000 times.
Mhm.
So if I can bring it home and loop it into your child, now all of a sudden your ears perk up. You're like, "Wait a minute, it's affecting them? Hold on." So I don't really care how I get you there. I just need you to start to work on yourself.
Yes, I mean, we do what we gotta do,
Yeah,
okay? We do
yeah.
what we gotta do to help mamas see just how meaningful and important this
And
work
how
is.
worthy you are to it. Like, you deserve it.
Yeah.
Living survival mode and struggling and not feeling how you want to feel and feeling annoyed and burnout and all that stuff, that's not helpful. No, you don't deserve that. You deserve so much more than that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The last thing I want to mention, because you said it, you addressed it straight up in the way that you did. Actually, I'm pulling it up because I wrote it down, Tracy. First of all, I love when you bring an etch a sketch into the way.
I'm very old school.
No, I just, for me, it's such a visual of we can actually reshuffle this deck.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I feel like I've been hemming and hawing on for such a long time as a therapist, but also as like an energy coach, I'm very sensitive to energy, is the relationship between feeling your feelings and this idea of staying high vibe.
Mm,
So feelings and frequency.
yeah.
And for so long, I've been trying to articulate in a really hodgepodge kind of way that I think when we feel our feelings, we get closer to authenticity, which is actually the highest vibe. But I want to hear what you have to say about that because it just pours out of you in a less hodgepodgey kind of way.
Pouring out of you beautifully.
Thank you.
And you are spot on. Authenticity is the highest measurable frequency on the emotional vibrational scale. Authenticity is actually higher than love, which was once believed to be the highest measurable frequency on the emotional vibrational scale.
Mhm.
And it goes back to what we're saying about emotional congestion, right? You can do all of these things for your vibe, for your frequency, so that it can be higher and more potent. However, if you are emotionally congested, AKA not feeling your feelings, the frequency that you're experiencing isn't an authentic frequency. It's almost like a false sense of being high vibe because, okay, you have this physical body,
Mhm.
and outside of your physical body is your electromagnetic field. And your electromagnetic field can be multiple feet in circumference, right,
Mhm.
around your physical body. And the cleaner and clearer you are in your emotional system, right, meaning the more decongested you are, the more open you are when you allow yourself to become a woman who feels her feelings and it starts to function like a self cleaning oven. Oh, there's a feeling. How does it want to be expressed? Okay, let it out. And we're back, right? Now,
Mhm.
all of a sudden, this center is so clean and clear that the vibration you have is so potent
Mm.
and your shoots out of your electromagnetic field and your field actually expands. And I want you to imagine whoa, that like whoa, feeling like it's in and it's out and it's potent and it's palpable and it is high because it finally can be felt. When we are trying to be high vibe, but we have an emotionally congested center, everything is muted and you are not in a high frequency, even if you perceive you are. The interesting part is, and this is just such a gorgeous conversation because I hear it a lot too. I'm afraid to feel my feelings because I'm supposed to stay high vibe. And the truth of the matter is that the path to an authentic high vibe is by becoming a woman who feels her feelings until they're done being felt.
That's it. That's
It's
it.
the answer, not the interference. So we just need to flip that and go, wait a
Yeah.
minute, because here's the other thing that I know to be true as a
Yes.
teacher of science and spirituality. We don't focus on the thing we are trying to get to or achieve, because if we were to focus on, let's say we focus on frequency, then where we're putting our focus and attention is in the absence of high frequency. So what we
Mhm.
want to always do is take a few steps back and go, well, what root things inherently will deliver that thing that we're desiring? It's like abundance. If we sit and focus on abundance, the message that we're sending out is that there's an absence of abundance, or we wouldn't be focusing on abundance. If we want to experience more abundance, then we're focusing on things like receivership and gratitude, right? And then the inherent byproduct of that is abundance.
Mhm.
When we are looking at, okay, I really do want to have well, of course we want to have a high vibration. It's an indication that we're also feeling amazing. Like you're saying, we're open, we're radiant, we can feel the joy, all of those things. So if that's where we're going, then the road to path to get there is by becoming fully expressed emotionally.
The road to becoming high vibe is becoming fully expressed.
Yes,
Oh, that is such a juicy place to end.
you have to end there, but I also have to say too, and that also means like when you're a woman who's fully self-expressed, that also means you're a woman who's void of judgment. It also means you're a woman who gave up that whole bullshit story about caring what other people think of you. It
Mm.
also means that you're a woman who has her sovereignty. It also means you're a woman who stands in her truth. It's a take me or leave me, either way, awesome
And
kind of.
that is so profoundly powerful and potent. There's no ego in there, there's no effort, or I shouldn't say effort, but there's no force. That's the flow of just being, the flow of
Mhm.
just being, and then you actually magnetize
Yes.
to all the radiance. This is
Yeah, you know what else is so crazy about this too?
what?
Yeah. This is when you really know you're like, all right, I get it now. You know you're so inherently whole and you are so take me or leave me either way awesome. And you finally understand that the feeling comes first and it comes from you and it has nothing to do what is or isn't happening outside of you. And because you're feeling how you want to feel by virtue of the fact that you create the feeling, you don't give a shit what happens. You're now finally living in high consciousness. There's no attachment. If it happened, but because you're no longer, your feelings are no longer dependent on the conditional happiness structure that you've been subscribing to this whole time. So not only do you open up magnetically, but you also don't care
Oh,
because, and that's the sweet spot. And now you're enlightened and you're just chilling and you're like, okay, whatevs.
and that's when it really becomes an adventure that you get to
Yeah.
witness. And
Yes.
playfulness is one of my core values. You just get to be playful with your
Well,
own
and
fucking life
creative and creative.
and creative.
Creative.
Tracy, this is so juicy.
Thank you.
Will
Thank
you
you.
tell the beautiful people about Conduit and
Oh,
just where they
yes.
can be in your world? Because once I started being in your world, I was like, okay, tell them.
I'm I'm so grateful you're in my world.
Mhm.
Thank you. So the School of Becoming is what we do. And it's the schoolofbecoming.com. And you can go play there and there's free assessments, resources, all the programs and everything. Specifically Conduit, I would love to invite you into. It is a free 3-day live virtual event where you get to keep your ambition, but lose the need to prove yourself.
Oh, that is such a nips hard. That
I
is like,
I still want to do epic shit. I
yeah.
just want to kill myself in the process. And I want to slow down and celebrate as well. So then it occurred to me like there is such a thing as ambition and success without proving energy. So
Yes.
that's the overview of Conduit. And over the course of 3 days, I'm going to break down for you the unworthy identity. I'm going to break down emotional agility, and I'm going to break down your leadership style and how things like perfectionism and procrastination and overwhelm and sarcasm and control are influencing your leadership style in a way that is creating something that's unhealthy for you
Mm.
and what to do about it. And the cool thing about Conduit is it's actually designed to mirror what it's like to be a student in the school. So I teach in the mornings. And then in the evenings, you get optional integration coaching with Amanda, who's our director of coaching, for 3 days. And it's all a free gift to you so that you can feel through, do you want to come into a semester of mind magic, which is where the identity evolution begins.
I will be there. And ladies, join me because you will move and shift in this 3-day free, gorgeous event. You will move. Something will shift in you.
Yeah, it's inevitable.
Tracy, thank you so much for being the force of nature that you are and the beam of light that you are, and bringing your gifts and sharing them so generously with us in a way that is just so fun and playful. I think that you do a really beautiful job of explaining real, sometimes hard to talk about things, or even just like the neuroscience. Like you're where the woo and the science meet, and yet there's a playfulness to it. And that makes it so much more fun for us. So thank you for taking the time to come here and just doing the work that you're doing in the world.
You are so welcome. It is truly my honor and pleasure every day. Thank you.
And for everybody listening, have a beautiful rest of your day. And we'll see you guys same time, same place next week. Bye for now. Hey, Mama, if you made it to the end of this episode, I just want to virtually high five you because you've said yes to the opportunity of taking better care of yourself. And that is so meaningful and so amazing. You have no idea the ripple of goodness that's to come. If you've been enjoying the show, if you've been finding it helpful, if you've laughed a little or learned a new technique, will you do me a favor? Will you make sure that you're following the show, that you've given us a 5-star rating and left a review? That will absolutely help us get this podcast into more heads and hearts of as many mamas as possible. Because when we heal the mother, we heal the world. Also, if there's a specific episode that you've loved, will you make sure to share it with a friend? Just send them the link or share it on social media and make sure you tag me at Brooke Jean Unperfected, because I absolutely love seeing that this is actually giving you the impact that you so desire and deserve. Thank you so much, mamas. Make sure you're taking care of yourselves and therefore each other.